Crazy, bro.
All right, well that's it. Borderlands has been done. Now it's on to the movie that I haven't seen, but he has. Alien Romulus.
We're gonna start with a spoiler free first, and then I hate to spoil it for you, bro.
It's all right.
It's so good, man.
It's all right.
So seeing the trailers, I was very hyped about this movie. I've always loved the Alien franchise. Of course, most people agree, and I agree with most people, that Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and of course the Alien vs. Predator movies are just subpar to the first two Alien movies that are in the franchise, which is Alien and Aliens. Alien was directed by Ridley Scott. Aliens was directed by James Cameron, who needs no introduction, right? So, seeing the trailers, it was great. Basic, people that were talking, seeing the test screenings, it was a recurrence or a resurgence of back to form factor of horror factor. No more origin. It's not an origin movie. It's not any kind of anything like that, which people had qualms with. But I love the Prometheus films. I liked them. They were good. So having that said, you pick apart the trailers. Fede Alvarez, which is an amazing. After seeing this movie, I've never seen his other horror movies. This guy is truly a master at horror. You could say, well, I don't watch enough horror movies to say that, but I'm telling you right now, this guy knows his stuff. It is so good. He knows how to build a scene. He knows how to put pressure upon pressure, raise the stakes upon raising the stakes, and when you realize the stakes can't be even higher, they really are. And he's just really good at this, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole movie. So, having that said, people have loved this movie. Fans have loved this movie. Critics have liked this movie. It's not a perfect movie. There are some criticisms. Actually, most criticisms I find run a little flat, and I'm going to explain why.
Well, first, would you or would you not recommend it?
Oh, briefly? I would recommend it highly. Highly recommend this movie. I can't recommend it enough. That's how ridiculously fanboy I am about this movie. And I don't have rose-colored glasses on because I'm a fanboy. Because as we've seen, as me and you seem to be objective thinkers, you love Borderlands, but yet your rose-colored glasses never made it to the theater. Apparently.
They weren't tinted enough to trick me into liking that movie.
Oh, wow. So, no, this movie is totally entertaining, and Fede Alvarez deserves much praise for this, especially taking on such a revered franchise. I mean, let's face it. And, Ridley Scott made this point on the red carpet of like an early opening for Alien Romulus. He said, Alien is the best monster put onto film. And I have to agree with him. Now, of course, you can't give credit with the monster creation without talking about H.R. Geiger. And, of course, the Alien movie, as some people might not know, was a collection of artists that were building a movie called Dune. Everyone knows that movie. But before the David Lynch 80s Dune came out, Alejandro Jodorowsky, which was a crazy cult director who did all kinds of mythical, I think Sacred Mountain or the Cold Mountain, I can't remember the name of it, but a very mythical Aleister Crowley journey through the subconscious mind. That's the kind of stuff he did. And he wanted to do Dune, but American producers were like, this movie cannot be made. This is too crazy. He wanted Salvador Dali to play the Emperor. He wanted Mick Jagger to play. It was ridiculous. And honestly, the demands for that movie was ridiculous. Okay, but the artists that worked on that movie were disgruntled because the movie wasn't made, and they end up making Alien. All that sort of leftover concept art made its way into Alien, and that's why Alien, I don't hate to say it, but truthfully is a part of history. At this point, I can't. It's significant. It has solidified its significance within the zeitgeist, cinema zeitgeist. So I can't recommend this movie enough. It's almost a part of American cinema lore at this point to see this movie. To say it American pastime is probably not the right thing to say, but it definitely feels kind of like that.
Yeah, it's an important part of movie history.
It really is. There was so much creative minds involved.
Before you get into the spoiler stuff, just real quick, do you recommend it to people who have not seen the other Alien stuff, or should they go ahead and watch?
It's a wonderful standalone. You do not have to watch the older movies. It definitely helps gain some context, but the movie that Alvarez has set out is just it's more than just a slasher film, but it world builds itself so well you don't need to, and we're gonna get to in the spoiler review why it's so good.
All right. Well, yeah. Getting the spoiler territory.
This is actually for Aiden because Aiden he's going to be ruined by.
I'm going to watch it. Well, side tangent. I feel like this is a movie that I don't think spoilers are. Well, I mean, I guess you know better than me, but usually movies are like deep and have a lot of stuff going on. It doesn't really upset me to have spoilers. It's more of stuff where I'm super invested in the whole world. I want to have that moment where I'm like, oh my god.
No, it's not like it's just such a good movie. So the premise of the movie, which just you can gather this from the previews and the trailers, that you've got a bunch of young adults who live on this colony planet. It's a mining planet, and Weyland-Yutani pretty much runs everything on this planet. It's a small colony of, I think they showed the population. It's like really small, like 20,000 or 2,000 people. It's really small, but it's very condensed in this small area, and you never get to see the sun. Okay, so this is going to come later, actually, cinematography. And the world building, and really the emotional building. He does such a good job in building the emotion in this movie. Anyway, so of course, when you start off with a movie, you start off with your character's social disposition. She goes to the colony, Weyland-Yutani colony administration office, and she's done with her indentured servitude contract, and she's ready to go to this planet that's lustrous and has air and sunlight, and she wants to go there. And of course, as soon as the old lady behind the desk looks at her and literally types in, "Oh, you can't leave yet. You're," even though it's said on the TV on the computer screen, "Oh, she's done." She just extends her like for another 5 years. Yeah. So it's really gross, right? And it starts off, and with her is her android brother. Now, when you think of androids, you think super smart, super strong, all this stuff. Well, this android is like a little defective, and he is a facsimile of a retarded, slow child. And it already starts off with this super emotionally vulnerable position. She cares for him. He acts like he doesn't sound retarded or anything, but he's kind of slow when he talks. He makes these silly, corny jokes that are super corny to humans, and he always repeats them. So, you start off with a very just emotional bond with these two. And then when she's in the office, he gets picked on by a bunch of kids, and they're just punching him and shit. And, so you're already building this emotional attachment. It's just so good. And then, she's in dire straits. She knows she's got to stay for another 5 years, so she's desperate. So who calls her? One of her ex-boyfriends. "Hey, I want you to come over, check it out. I got something to talk to you about." She's like, "Okay, whatever." So she goes over there. There's another couple friends there. And he's there. And he's like so there's dirt roads. There's no paved roads. And all these, it's like literally a trailer. It's like the space age trailer park, but they're all metal and they look space age. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of funny how it looks. So she gets there. She sees everybody. They recognize each other. It's a friendly moment. And he actually, the first person to be nice to the android, his name's Andy, is her ex-boyfriend. Now they're not really, they don't hate each other. They're in good terms, so it doesn't seem like on and off again, girlfriend and boyfriend kind of thing. I don't know. It doesn't really go into it, which is a good thing. They don't waste time with it. But so he's nice to Andy. He's like, Anyway, I shouldn't explain the whole movie. I should start to do.
Explain the parts that you either do or don't like.
Right.
What works and doesn't.
I'll just say, I don't want. I'm sitting here explaining the whole movie. I'm gonna catch myself. But so. The idea is that he does such a good job in building your emotional attachment to this cast. Like, I've never been more emotionally attached to an alien cast, like Alien or Aliens. You've never been more emotionally attached to these 6 individuals. I think it's 6, yeah. And so the premise is they're like, okay, well, we can go to the planet, and I forgot what the planet's name is, but this wonderful, lustrous planet. We can get the hell off this rock. And all we need to do is get these cryotubes from the Weyland space station in orbit that we've found, right? And, because we don't have enough cryo fuel, they call it cryo fuel in the movie, because we need to go under for 9 years. So that's what they need. So, okay. So they get there. and you know, some weird things happen that's not supposed to happen, and so the face huggers are being like, you know, stuck in this anyway, I don't know. Again, I'm explaining the movie. I'm trying not to get into that, but he does such a good job in raising the emotional stakes. The most important thing is that Andy eventually gets uploaded. Like, so there's an android, an old android from the first movie. He's like already decapitated, or not decapitated, but he's like
it's
serrated.
The same one from the first.
It's not
movie?
The same one. It's the same model.
Okay.
It's the same model. So they're able to. She takes the disc. So there's like this little disc in the back of the neck of the
shard.
android. Yeah. So she takes him, and Andy gets uploaded. So he's like super smart now. He's always been super strong, but now he's better equipped to do super strength stuff. But he now has a new director for the company. So you don't know if Wayland or if Andy's a good guy or not. He's on his own thing now. So the big scene, the face huggers come out. When they pull the cryotube out of this laboratory, the face huggers start to warm up, and that's what wakes them up, because the cryofuel was being used to keep the face huggers at bay.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of how it all starts, and everything all the bad stuff that happens to them are very organically progressed.
It works.
And then they realize, the space station is actually going to crash. There's a ring around the planet, and that's what makes great cinematography fuel. There's so many great scenes where the space station is crashing into the ring, and it's just so fucking cool to look at, dude. And I gotta explain the best picture from the movie, but overall, the reason why this movie works so well is that you're so emotionally invested. He does such a good job. And so when all the crazy shit that happens to these people, so you find out that one of the girls, not the main character, but one of the girls is pregnant. And it's kind of hinted that the guy that was with the Asian chick that's a pilot, I can't remember the character's name, like their thing, but I think his side chick was the homegirl that was there, and he got her pregnant. It doesn't really...
Just hinted at.
It'll
probably be theorized, argued about.
So
later.
eventually, as you see in the trailer, the pilot, who's the bald Asian chick, she gets chest bursted. She's the one that got face hugged. She gets chest bursted. She's on the floor freaking out, or she's not freaking out, but she's like when the face hugger, because eventually they just fall off.
Yep.
And Andy at this point is like super smart now. He's like, don't do anything. You're gonna kill her. Da 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 da. So they end up leaving them, like the pilot and her boyfriend, and the pregnant chick who actually has pregnancy sickness is stuck on the. She stayed on the ship because she's just sick, and that's gonna come in later. So anyway, they go back. They actually portrayed them, said, "Fuck it, we're out of here." But then they chest burst on the ship. That's when the alien comes out. The alien gets back on the ship in another way. It's just so good. So the thing about the movie that a lot of people give it somewhat good critique, and I see why it's a little flat for me, is because they say that it does too much nostalgic nods. And there's nostalgic nods in the movie. There is that line that was famous in Aliens, was like, "Get your hands off her, you bitch." Yeah. Okay, so that line was used. To me that was, but there's so many. The nostalgic nods are more in the cinematography, not in the quotes.
Well, that's fine.
And that's fine for me.
It's like the quotes where it sometimes gets a little like, really.
It's stupid. So it's really more like cinematics.
Yeah.
Like with from Alien 3, which actually, when you think of the Alien franchise, you always see this iconic picture from Alien 3 when the alien's really close to Ripley.
Oh, in the shower
that scene,
with the little mouth.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that scene was like that. Same scene was used, but there's these parts in Alien, which is kind of funny, where fans will sit there and discuss, like, how does Alien grow so fucking fast? He kind of shows you how it does. So what happens is when the thing pops out, when the chest burster pops out, it sheds its skin like a snake, and then it finds somewhere to, like, it builds up another cocoon, and then it gets bigger. So it kind of shows you how it works, and it's kind of neat. And it shows, and it has this point where he kills the pilot and her boyfriend, and it shows the alien pulling them into the hive. So it has those moments in there. And then when everything ramps up, because the last, like, of course, Rain is the main character's name. Can't remember the actress's name, but she's a sole survivor, and Andy survived. So her boyfriend is the second last one to die, and he kind of dies without firing a shot. Like this alien comes out of nowhere and just sticks him with his tail. Like a lot of tail kills in this fucking film. So some people call this a B budget horror ending. I don't think so. To me, the last monster was horrifying. Now, the big part of the plot is the laboratory not only was synthesizing the black goo that was in Prometheus. So the black goo actually makes a reappearance in this movie. And it's supposed to... And so they make a point where people on this mining colony are dying from, like, the black lung, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, from mining and shit. So Weyland China's like, well, we have a way of and they also talk about, well, humans were never meant for being in space. So we're trying to upgrade the human. Yeah. So we're using this black goo that's total life, and all you do is stick you with it, and it upgrades you, right? Yeah. They're trying to figure it out. So they're messing with the black goo. So it does nod to Prometheus in that way, because they're black goo in that. It's the black goo, right? So, of course, this stuff is unstable, and it kind of reminded me of. Remember the game Dead Space? Yeah. It had that same zombie kind of feel to it, because if you put this stuff in you. It showed like the android was trying to sell the cast with this idea, but they didn't show. Android didn't show that it actually is unstable. Of course, it shows the audience, because it shows a rat and it shows it getting killed, but then like when it gets stuck with the black goo, it like heals itself. But they're like, oh, see, it works. And then as soon as like the video keeps playing and they leave the room, but it shows the audience. That the rat turns into this big, gross, fucking alien looking thing. Yeah. So it's pretty funny, but it does heal you. I guess it transforms you. So it's a little bit of metamorphosis horror, body horror, of course.
Body horror. Yeah.
So, so that's a big part of the film. So the pregnant girl, she's pregnant. I can't remember how she's bleeding. I can't remember why she got hurt by the alien or something like that. I can't remember exactly what happened. But she's going to die. So their plan is, they're like, oh, let's inject her with this black goo. And she's like, no, we can get her to the cryo chamber, and then when we get to the planet, they'll heal her. And they're like, okay, let's do that. But while on the transport back to the cryo tube in the ship, because there's a space station in the ship that they came in. Yeah. On the way back, something happens. They get in contact with the alien or some shit, and she freaks out. And she sticks herself. Okay, so she's putting herself in the cryo tube, and she gives birth. Yeah. Actually, well, the second act is over. They pretty much blow up the spaceship. The spaceship runs into the ring. It's a really cool scene. It is a beautiful, one of the best space explosions. Because they're very generic. Yeah. Whenever something explodes in space and it's supposed to be epic, it's just like this big ball of flame. It's like woo, big deal. This is fucking epic. This is absolutely cinematography. It's fucking epic, bro.
This is something I actually heard about this on Twitter 2 days ago. That was the scene making people walk out. I heard that somebody gives birth to some sort of horrific homunculus entity. That's what I heard was the scene that was grossing people out about this movie.
Well, okay, so I was gonna so after Act 2 is done, spaceship's dead, and actually there's a hive on the spaceship because there was these people on the ship that were doing this research. Well, they all got hived up, and they were all there's a bunch of different aliens on the ship. There's not just one, right? So anyway, she actually comes, and there's an action scene with her with a gun, and she shoots these things. I didn't even get to another great scene from that movie, but I'm trying to make this brief because I'm catching myself.
It's a review. You don't have to.
I know.
It's a review, not a recap.
Man. I'm trying to do a good recap. Cinematography is amazing. The score of this movie is so fucking good. Orchestral score, beautiful sound design. I mean, there's so many good things about this movie. So what happens is Act 3. She puts everything seems to be fine. They made it. They killed the alien. She puts Homegirl into the cryo chamber. She doesn't know she stuck herself with this goo. She doesn't know that yet. And so she's doing some last touch-ups on the ship before she goes in the cryo chamber. And next thing you know, one of the cryo chambers, the light turns green to red, like critical, like a cryo ending, fatal error, not fatal error, but vital signs are failing or some shit. Yep. So she pulls her out, and then she's like, now she's super. She was only pregnant, barely. Now she's super pregnant, and she's giving birth to this thing. And it pops out like the normal way, not a chest burster. And it's like an egg. And I don't know, like, oh, it's got acid coming out of it. So it, like, falls down somewhere. And she's got to go find it, right? And so the girl's still alive. I gave birth. She's like, what the fuck is this? She's freaking out. So she's out of it. So Rain grabs a, you don't know what it is. It's like a pack and a gun. And it's like an ice spray. Anyway, so she goes down. She's gonna shoot this thing, whatever it is. The cocoon opens up. It's a human baby. So she hesitates. And then eventually, like, I don't know, it falls down again because the acid pops out when it opens up.
Oh, it like melts through the floor.
Yeah, it melts through the floor. And she's trying to find it. Next thing you know, this thing is a huge human fucking... Almost looked like an engineer, but a really gross engineer with all the weird biomechanical
something like,
spine. And
something almost like from Dead Space?
Almost kind of like from Dead Space. Yeah,
like
very similar. Like this movie reminded me of... And so I think a lot of criticism comes around... don't get me wrong. It was scary looking at this thing because it felt like Uncanny Valley. It's a human,
but it's kind of not.
But it's kind of not,
really.
you know. And so people maybe lost the suspension of belief when they saw that. They couldn't. They I don't know. But I honestly,
I'd have to see it. To
it
comment,
freaked me the fuck out,
movie.
bro.
Like,
It freaked me out. I was like, holy fuck, this thing.
You don't really get into the horror much. I think we're kind of done with the spoiler review. We're just talking now.
Yeah.
I think you're not really that much into horror, so
that's true. But I know I've seen some good horror, and I know good horror when I see it. This is horror. This is good because the stakes are always raised. Yeah. So the time clock is always ticking, and then it ticks faster, and then it ticks even faster. Then it happens, and then you still got more time. Like, it's just crazy. Like, so anyway, so that was the scene that people thought was too much. For a horror fan, I think it wasn't. I mean, it's more of it wasn't that. I mean, yeah, it's gory, of course. I mean, giving birth is gory, period. But it was the subconscious factor that got a lot of people upset, which is totally fine because she doesn't want anything to do with the baby, right? So there's a lot of weird subliminal messages happening here, and this thing's evil, so it ends up eating her, the mother. Yeah. And it's pretty rough. Yeah. Right. So, but no, the movie is good just because he just knocks it out of the park. And so, okay, so the most awesome scene in the movie, actually, of course, they in formulaic fashion, they jettison the alien to its death. Okay.
Push it out the airlock.
They push it out the airlock. But this is actually a creative way to do it. She uses the acid from the egg. She's in a cargo ship full of coal. That's where they fight. That's where they have the last fight scene. While the alien's trying to kill her, she dumps the acid onto the ground. And then it just sucks her. Oh yeah. It just sucks everyone in. And she's got the cable. She's in a spacesuit, so she's protective. Yeah. Very similar to the first movie. And so there's another little scene where you think he's done, but his tail got stuck to the thing, and they have another little fight. A first-person view of the alien coming at her. Oh, it was cool. Anyway, so the alien finally dissolves into space dust or whatever. Yeah. But the ship is on, while all this is happening, the ship is on manual mode, and it's getting lower to the ring that you've already saw the space station get destroyed by. So you know there's imminent death no matter what. Yeah. So when the alien finally dies, she's hanging from the spaceship on a fucking steel cable, and she's got your back's turned. There's a silhouette, and you see the ring, and you see she's dangling from the ship, and the orchestral music is blaring, and it is so fucking epic, bro. Yeah, it is unreal. Like, she's hanging down. You see the ring. Bro, it is so good. Anyway, and then she kind of is done. So that was that last scene was, I don't think I know a better ending. Yeah. You know, and yes, there's nostalgic nods. Yes, they do the formulaic killing by the airlock. You know, so all this is, but this, I don't know. It was a great movie because you're emotionally invested. That's as long as you nail that. Yeah. Really, you can almost do anything. You
can get away with a lot.
You can get away with a lot.
That, yeah.
So anyway, I'm rambling. If you don't stop me now, I'll just talk about the whole movie. I'm such a fanboy.
Here, let's since this is the RumDumPod, I gotta get a little refill here.
Let's do some refill action. Yeah, this is Black Magic we're drinking. How's about that? One more?
Yeah, a little splash.
Right.
A little splash. I ain't got to work tomorrow.
Well, if you want to go see it, let me know.
Watch it either.
Let me know, because it was that good. I'll see it again.
You want to watch it again?
I thought if there's any more general, things I want to talk about the movie, but really the world building was great. Oh, it definitely sets up for a sequel.
Well, yeah.
I mean, because she goes at the end of the movie, she and her android go. The android's injured, but you could tell he's going to survive. And so they're on their way to their paradise planet. So,
yeah.
And there's no alien on board. Whatever alien was that the goo guy, the goo
man.
guy.
The goo
And I
man.
think, but there's goo still. They still had the vials of goo. They brought it with them. It's just, it was so good, man. Anyway, so
and other movie news.
So yeah, guys, just to recap, Alien Romulus is fucking amazing. You need to see it. Oh, I didn't even give you a 1 to 10 rating on Romulus.
Oh yeah, how many face huggers out of 10 do you give Romulus?
Honestly, bro, this is a hot take. Now, being a fan of the series, knowing that there is a lot of nostalgic kind of scene building and cinematography in the movie that's got a lot of nods to all the older movies, it can't be a 10. Even though I love the movie, it's amazing, it's good to see. I almost think it's the best movie just because there's an emotional attachment that I never got from any of the other movies. Even though you're always emotionally attached to Ripley and her saving the child, especially in Aliens, the second one. That is always going to hit you. But this is like times that by 6 other people. Like, it got you, right? Because even though the Marines were cool in the second movie, you didn't feel that attached to them, right? Yes, it was heartbreaking to see him die and stuff, but not like this movie. This movie is a higher stakes. So, having that said,
how many face huggers out of 10? How many face huggers? There's 10 face huggers.
8.5, bro.
8.5 face huggers
That's
out of 10.
That's fucking hard. It doesn't get it. I almost give it enough time, it'll easily be a 9. I only reserve hard 9s and especially hard 10s. You can only become a 10 in my book if you have at least been out for a decade, and your movie had time to saturate among the collective consciousness of humankind. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the only time you have to. That's the only I can only go to the past movies and say they're 10s, even though they might not be. Like on the Richter scale, if you watch the movie, like if it would come out today, maybe it wasn't the greatest movie, but the cultural effect that it had is a 10. Like the first Alien movie it has to be a 10. It's just because it had all that time. It created so many worlds. You can't deny its significance. So it has to be a 10. Even though it's not the perfect movie. I mean, me and my boy Keegan, shout out to Keegan if you're watching this podcast that I went to go see the movie with today. One of the main gripes about the first movie is that in the last scene, the aliens just kind of like take a nap. He doesn't like try to attack Ripley. I don't remember that scene. Like the scene is like she's in the escape pod, and she like accidentally like not steps on him, but like is doing something on the computer, and he's like stuck in the ventilation shaft, and he like reaches his arm out, and he just like stays there. He doesn't like come to go get her, and he's been aggressive the whole movie. It's really weird. And that's the only gripe that I have about that movie. Like it was just, I mean, it doesn't ruin the movie but it's just so goofy. It's like, why are you not attacking her? Like, did you all of a sudden get like a sugar nap? Like you get like a little
sugar
diabetic coma. Like,
yeah.
You gotta take a nap from eating all the brains. I don't know, dude. So it was a little goofy, but even though that was like not a perfect movie, it's still a 10 just due to its cultural significance. Yeah. And there's so many movies like that. So this movie is definitely an 8.5. I give it another couple months, it'll be a 9.
So really, out of the 3 movies, the only one that's not recommended is Borderlands.
Yeah, Borderlands.